Captain Wu Jin stood in front of the big window on the space station and looked at something that made his heart beat fast. A huge alien ship was floating in space near Earth. It was bigger than anything humans had ever built. The ship had been there for 3 whole days and nights doing nothing at all. The alien ship was dark silver and had strange patterns all over it that seemed to move and change when you looked at them. It was so big that it blocked out part of the sun when it passed. In front of it, everyone on Earth could see it if they looked up at the right time during the day or night. Wu Jin had not slept well for 3 days. His job was to protect Earth from anything dangerous that came from space, but he did not know what to do about this ship. The aliens inside had not tried to talk to humans. They had not shot any weapons. They had not done anything at all. They just stayed there floating in space, like they were waiting for something. Lieutenant Han Na was sitting at her computer trying to figure out what the aliens wanted. She had tried to send them messages in every language humans knew. She had tried using math and pictures and even music, but the aliens never answered back. The silence was making everyone very nervous, Commander. So Young walked into the room looking tired. She had been talking to world leaders all day, trying to decide what to do. Some countries wanted to attack the alien ship right away. Other countries thought they should wait and see what happened first. The whole world was watching and waiting. Then something changed. Hanna's computer started making loud beeping noises. She looked at her screen and her eyes got very wide. Captain Wu Jin, sir, we are getting a message from them, she said in an excited voice. Everyone in the room stopped what they were doing and gathered around Han Na's computer. The message was very short and written in perfect English. We request permission to begin the test. Wu Jin, read the message 3 times. What test, he asked out loud, but nobody knew the answer. Before anyone could think of what to say back, the alien ship started doing something new. Thousands of small round objects came out of the big ship. They looked like metal eggs, and they were all different sizes. Some were as big as cars and others were as small as basketballs. The metal eggs started flying toward Earth very fast, but they were not flying toward big cities or army bases. Dr. Tai Hyun was watching everything from his laboratory. He was a scientist who studied space and aliens even though he had never seen a real alien before. He watched the metal eggs spread out all over the world through his telescopes and computers. The first metal egg landed in a small coffee shop in Seoul, South Korea. The people inside the coffee shop ran outside screaming, but nothing bad happened. The metal egg just sat there for a few minutes, then it opened up like a flower. What came out of the egg surprised everyone. It was not a scary monster or a robot soldier. It was a person, but not quite a human person. This being had pale blue skin and very large dark eyes that seemed to shine with their own light. It was wearing simple clothes like humans wear, and it walked on 2 legs just like humans do. The blue-skinned being walked into the coffee shop and sat down at a table. The scared customers watched from outside as the alien looked around the shop with curiosity. Then the alien did something nobody expected. It raised its hand and waved at the people outside in a friendly way, just like humans do when they want to say hello. More metal eggs were landing all over the world. In New York, one landed in a public library, and out came another blue-skinned being who immediately started looking at books in Tokyo. An alien landed in a hospital and began watching doctors take care of patients. In London, an alien appeared in a park and started watching children play on swings and slides. Commander So Young was getting reports from everywhere. These aliens were not acting like invaders at all. They were acting like tourists who wanted to see how humans lived. They did not have weapons. They did not try to take over buildings. They just sat and watched, and sometimes tried to help with small things. In the Seoul coffee shop, the blue-skinned alien had somehow learned to speak Korean in just 1 hour. It asked the coffee shop owner if it could help clean tables. The owner was so surprised that he said yes. The alien cleaned tables better than any human worker ever had, making them shine like mirrors. In the New York library, the alien learned English by reading books very fast. It could read an entire book in just 10 minutes. Then it started helping people find books they were looking for. It seemed to know exactly where every book in the library was kept. Dr. Tai Hyun studied video footage from around the world and noticed something amazing. The aliens were not just watching humans, they were copying human behavior. They learned to smile when humans smiled. They learned to say please and thank you. They even learned to laugh at funny things. But there was something else that made Dr. Tai Hyun very excited. The aliens had incredible abilities, but they were not using them to show off or to scare people. An alien in Germany lifted a car that was blocking traffic, but it did this gently and carefully so nobody would get hurt. An alien in Brazil somehow made plants grow faster in a dying garden, but it only did this to help an old woman who was sad about her flowers. More and more reports came in from around the world. Aliens were working in restaurants and serving food that tasted better than anything the chefs had ever made. Aliens were helping in schools and somehow making the most difficult subjects easy to understand. Aliens were working in hospitals and helping doctors cure diseases that had no cure before. But the strangest thing was how normal it all seemed. After the first day of fear and confusion, people started treating the aliens like they belonged there. The aliens learned human customs very quickly. They said "excuse me" when they bumped into people. They held doors open for others. They even started wearing different clothes to fit in better with the humans around them. Captain Wu Jin watched all of this happening and felt confused. This was not how alien invasions were supposed to work in movies. The aliens were supposed to attack or make demands, or at least explain why they came to Earth. Instead, they were just living among humans like they had always been there. As the first week passed, something incredible happened. The aliens started showing emotions just like humans. They seemed happy when humans were kind. To them, they looked sad when they saw humans who were suffering. They got excited when they learned new things about human culture. One alien in a small town in America even started crying when it watched a movie about a dog who saved its owner. The human sitting next to the alien was so moved by this that he offered to share his popcorn. The alien tried popcorn for the first time, and its large eyes got even bigger with surprise and delight. The world was changing. Every day brought new stories of aliens helping humans and learning to be more like humans. The aliens asked for nothing in return, except the chance to stay and continue learning. They seemed genuinely interested in understanding what made humans special. Dr. Tai Hyun worked day and night studying the aliens. He noticed that they were all different from each other, even though they had similar blue skin and large eyes. Some were taller, some were shorter. Some seemed more curious about art and music, while others were more interested in science and medicine. But they all shared one thing in common. They all seemed to think that humans had something very special, something that the aliens wanted to understand and learn. The way they watched humans was not like scientists studying specimens. It was like students trying to learn from the greatest teachers in the universe. As the days passed, more metal eggs landed, and more aliens joined human society. They spread out across the entire world, always in small numbers and always choosing to help rather than to control. They worked in hospitals, schools, restaurants, libraries, and even helped with natural disasters. The question that everyone was asking was still the same. What was this test that the aliens had mentioned? And why did they seem to think that humans had something they needed to learn? Captain Wu Jin knew that the answer to these questions would change everything for both humans and aliens. But for now, he could only watch and wait as the most peaceful invasion in history continued to unfold all around the world. 3 months had passed since the first alien ship arrived near Earth, and everything had changed in ways nobody could have imagined. The blue-skinned beings were now part of daily life in cities and towns all around the world. They worked alongside humans as if they had always belonged there. Agent Min Soo was sitting in a dark room full of computers and strange machines. His job was to listen to secret messages and find out information that could help protect Earth. He had been working day and night trying to understand what the aliens really wanted. For weeks, Min Soo had been trying to break the code of alien messages that his machines picked up from space. The aliens on Earth seemed peaceful, but there had to be more to their story. Finally, after many sleepless nights, he discovered something that made his hands shake with excitement. The aliens were not just random visitors from space. They came from many different planets and star systems, but they all knew about each other. They had been planning this visit to Earth for a very long time, and they all shared one strange belief about humans. Min Soo called an emergency meeting with Commander. So Young and the other leaders, he showed them the translated alien messages on his computer screen. "Look at this," he said, pointing to the words on the screen. "They call it the human spark commander." So Young read the message carefully. "According to these alien records, humans are the only species in the entire galaxy that always chooses hope instead of giving up. They say humans pick working together instead of fighting, even when fighting would be easier. They believe humans create beautiful things instead of just destroying, even when destruction is simpler." The room was quiet as everyone tried to understand what this meant. Dr. Yu Jin, a smart woman who studied how minds work, raised her hand. "I have been watching the aliens who live among us," she said. "Something very interesting is happening to them." Dr. Yu Jin had been studying alien behavior for 3 months. She visited the places where aliens worked and lived. She talked to humans who spent time with the aliens every day. What she discovered was amazing. The aliens who came to Earth were very different when they first arrived, she explained to the group. They were cold and logical like living computers. They did not understand jokes. They did not cry when sad things happened. They did not get excited about beautiful sunsets or good food. But now, after living with humans for 3 months, something incredible was happening. The aliens were changing. They were becoming more like humans in ways that had nothing to do with their blue skin or large eyes. In Seoul, the alien who worked at the coffee shop had started telling jokes to customers. At first, the jokes were not funny because the alien did not understand humor, but the humans laughed anyway because they could see the alien was trying. Now, after months of practice, the alien could make people laugh until their stomachs hurt in New York. The alien at the library had begun reading poetry books and getting tears in its large eyes when the poems were beautiful. The librarians were amazed because at first the alien only read science and math books. Now it spent hours reading stories about love and friendship and adventure. Dr. Yu Jin showed video footage of aliens from around the world. An alien firefighter in London had risked his life to save a cat stuck in a tree, even though cats were not important for his mission. An alien teacher in Tokyo had stayed after school every day to help a struggling student, even though it was not required. The most amazing change was happening to an alien who worked at a hospital in Brazil. This alien could heal people instantly with its advanced knowledge, but instead of showing off this power, it worked slowly alongside human doctors. It learned to comfort scared patients with gentle words and warm smiles. It had even started crying when patients died. Commander. So Young looked at all the evidence and felt confused. If the aliens have such incredible powers, why are they pretending to be like us? Why are they changing themselves to become more human? Agent Min Su had found the answer. In more secret alien messages, the galaxy is full of advanced civilizations, he explained. Each one has technology that is millions of years ahead of what humans have. They can travel between stars in minutes. They can cure any disease. They can live forever if they want to. But there is a problem that every advanced species faces. Min Su continued reading from his translated documents. They call it the Great Silence. Every species that becomes very advanced eventually loses something important. They stop caring about beauty. They stop feeling wonder about the universe. They stop wanting to explore or create or even live. The alien messages told a sad story. Every powerful civilization in the galaxy had reached the same point. They solved all their problems and eliminated all their struggles. But in doing so, they lost their spirit. They became like machines that could think, but could not feel joy or hope or love. These civilizations would build amazing cities and incredible machines, but nobody cared about them anymore. The people would stop having children because they saw no point in continuing. They would stop making art because they thought it was wasteless. They would stop exploring space because they had seen everything, and nothing excited them anymore. Dr. Yu Jin realized what this meant. The aliens came to Earth because humans are different. Humans have wars and diseases and problems, but we never stop hoping. We never stop trying to make things better. We never stop creating beautiful things even when life is hard. The alien messages revealed that Earth was famous throughout the galaxy. Humans were known as the only species that had advanced technology, but still kept their curiosity and passion. other species, had sent observers to watch humans for thousands of years, trying to understand how humans avoided the Great Silence. Now these aliens were doing more than just watching. They were trying to become like humans. They hoped that by living among humans and copying human behavior, they could save their own dying civilizations. Lieutenant Dong Min, who monitored space communications, brought disturbing news. The alien ships in space were getting messages from their home planets demanding that the aliens return immediately. The home planets were angry that their people were changing and becoming too much like humans. But something unexpected was happening. Many aliens were refusing to go back. They had tasted human emotions and human ways of thinking, and they did not want to lose what they had gained. They were choosing to stay on Earth even if it meant never seeing their home planets again. An alien named Kyo Min, who worked as a doctor, sent a message back to his home planet that Min Su intercepted. "I have learned what it means to care about someone more than yourself." The message said, "I have felt the joy of healing, not just bodies but spirits. I have discovered that helping others makes me feel more alive than I ever felt before. I cannot return to a world without these feelings." Similar messages were coming from aliens all over Earth. They had discovered emotions they never knew existed. They had learned to find beauty in simple things like flowers blooming or children laughing. They had experienced the satisfaction of working hard for something they believed in. The test was becoming clear. The aliens had to prove they could learn human values and human ways of thinking. They had to show they could care about others more than themselves. They had to demonstrate they could find hope even in difficult situations. But the test was changing the aliens in ways their home planets never expected. Instead of just studying humans and returning with information, the aliens were becoming human in all the ways that mattered most. They were learning to love and hope and dream. Dr. Yu Jin made one final observation that surprised everyone. "The aliens are not just copying human behavior," she said. "They are becoming better versions of themselves by learning from humans. They are discovering parts of themselves that were always there, but were buried under millions of years of cold logic." As the fourth month began, it became clear that the test was not just about whether aliens could understand humans. It was about whether they could save themselves from the emptiness that had consumed every other advanced species in the galaxy, and the answer was becoming clearer every day. 6 months had passed since the aliens arrived on Earth, and not all of them were finding it easy to become more like humans. Some alien species were struggling with human ideas that seemed impossible to understand. Captain Sung Ho had been assigned to work with the most difficult cases. The Vorthan aliens were known across the galaxy as the greatest warriors. Their home planet was a place where only the strongest survived, and showing weakness meant death. They had come to Earth expecting to learn about human fighting techniques, but instead they found something that confused them completely. Jae-sung was a Vorthan alien who had been living in Seoul working as a security guard at a large bank. He was 7 feet tall with blue skin that was darker than other aliens and muscles that could crush steel with ease. But after 6 months on Earth, he was more confused than ever. Captain Sung Ho received a call one morning that would change everything. A group of desperate men with guns had entered the bank where Jae-sung worked. The human police surrounded the building, but they were not rushing in with weapons drawn. Instead, they were trying to talk to the robbers. Jae-sung watched from inside the bank as the human police officers risked their lives to solve the problem peacefully. The robbers were scared and angry, and they had already fired shots into the ceiling. But instead of fighting back, the police were asking them what they needed and why they were doing this. The leader of the robbers was a young man who had lost his job and could not pay for his sick mother's medicine. He was crying as he held his gun with shaking hands. The other robbers were his friends who were trying to help him, but they were all terrified and did not know what to do. Jae-sung could have ended the situation in seconds. His Vorthan strength would let him knock out all the robbers before they could blink. His species had fought wars across the galaxy and won every single one. But as he watched the human police, he began to see something he had never seen before. The police negotiator was a woman named Officer Park, who had been talking to the robbers for 3 hours. She was not trying to trick them or defeat them. She was trying to understand them. She asked about the sick mother and promised to help find money for the medicine. She offered to get the young man a job if he would put down his gun. "Your people are weak," Jae-sung told Captain Sung-ho after the situation ended, peacefully with no one getting hurt. "You could have ended this in seconds, but you chose the slow and dangerous way. Why did you risk the lives of innocent people?" Captain Sung-ho looked at the tall alien and smiled. "We chose the human way," he said. "Sometimes being strong means choosing not to use your strength." The goal was not to win a fight. The goal was to save everyone, including the people who made the mistake. Over the following weeks, Jae-sung observed more examples of this strange human behavior. He saw parents working 3 jobs to pay for their children's education instead of just taking what they needed. He watched doctors staying awake for days to save patients even when the patients could not pay. He witnessed neighbors helping each other rebuild after a fire, destroyed their homes. Slowly, Jae-sung began to understand that human strength was different from Vorthon's strength. Humans were strong, not because they could destroy, but because they could endure. They were powerful, not because they could take whatever they wanted, but because they chose to give even when they had little. Meanwhile, another type of alien was having different problems. The ethereal species were known for their perfect logic and complete control over emotions. They came from a planet where decisions were made by computer calculations and feelings were considered a dangerous weakness. Sun Me was an ethereal alien who had been assigned to work as a marriage counselor in a small town. She was supposed to help human couples solve their relationship problems using logic and reason. But after 6 months, she was more frustrated than ever. Every day, couples came to her office with problems that made no sense. A husband and wife would fight about money, then spend their last savings on flowers for each other. A young couple would break up over a silly argument, then get back together the next day and be happier than ever. Sunmi tried to help them using ethereal logic. She created charts and graphs showing why their relationships were inefficient. She calculated the probability of their marriages succeeding and recommended the most logical courses of action. But the humans ignored her advice and followed their hearts instead. Couple particularly confused Sunmi. They were both artists who barely had enough money to eat, but they spent hours creating beautiful paintings and music for each other. They fought passionately about everything, but they also loved each other with an intensity that seemed to burn like fire. "Why do you stay together?" Sunmi asked them. "Your relationship causes you both pain and stress. Logic says you should separate and find more compatible partners." The woman looked at Sunmi with surprise and laughed. "We stay together because life without him would be empty." She said, "He makes me feel alive even when we are arguing. The pain is worth it because the joy is so much greater." Sunmi studied hundreds of human couples and slowly began to see patterns that her logical mind had missed. Human love was not about efficiency or compatibility. It was about growth and challenge, and the willingness to become better people for someone else. She watched couples support each other through terrible illnesses even when it would have been easier to leave. She saw partners sacrifice their own dreams to help their loved ones achieve theirs. She witnessed the way humans could forgive each other for huge mistakes and start over with even stronger love. The most difficult lesson came when Sunmi fell in love herself. She had been working with a human man named Tae-won, who taught art classes to children. Sunmi was supposed to be studying human education methods, but instead she found herself looking forward to their conversations more than anything else. At first, Sunmi tried to ignore her feelings. Ethereals were not supposed to experience love or attachment. But as weeks passed, she realized that her feelings were making her more creative and more caring than she had ever been. She started seeing beauty in things she had never noticed before. The challenge was not just about understanding human emotions. It was about allowing those emotions to change the aliens in fundamental ways. Species that had been the same for millions of years were being transformed by just months of human contact. Some aliens like Jae-sung learned that true strength came from choosing mercy over violence. They discovered that winning was not always about defeating your enemy, but about finding ways for everyone to succeed. Other aliens like Sunmi learned that logic alone was not enough to understand life. They found that emotions and feelings were not weaknesses, but sources of incredible power and creativity. But the greatest challenge was yet to come. Many aliens were starting to refuse orders from their home planets. They had tasted what it felt like to be truly alive, and they did not want to return to their old empty existence. The test was supposed to last 1 year, but it was becoming clear that some aliens would never want to leave Earth. They had found something among humans that they had been searching for their entire lives without knowing it. As the 7th month began, reports came in from around the world. Aliens were openly defying their commanders and choosing to stay with their human friends and families. The peaceful test was about to become something much more complicated. The galaxy was watching as the most advanced species in the universe were being changed by the simplest human values: love, hope, courage, and the willingness to sacrifice for others. The aliens had come to study humans, but they were discovering that humans had already taught them the most important lesson of all: how to be truly alive. 9 months had passed since the aliens first arrived on Earth, and Dr. Hai Jin was working late in her laboratory surrounded by ancient alien texts and computer screens filled with translated messages. She had been studying alien languages and history for months, and what she discovered would change everything. Humans thought they knew about the galaxy. The truth was hidden in old alien records that were thousands of years old. Dr. Hai Jin had found references to something called the Great Silence in the writings of dozens of different alien species. Each civilization had written about it in their own way, but the story was always the same. Every advanced species in the galaxy had followed the same path. They started as primitive beings, on their home planets just like humans had on Earth. They developed technology and science and medicine. They eliminated diseases and ended wars and created perfect societies where no one suffered. But then, something terrible happened. The species would reach a point where they had solved all their problems and answered all their questions. Life became too easy and too predictable. They stopped feeling curious about the universe. They stopped creating new art or music or literature. They stopped having children because they saw no point in continuing. Dr. Hai Jin read account after account of civilizations that had simply faded away, not because they were destroyed by war or disease, but because they had lost the will to exist. They had everything they could ever want, but they felt empty inside. The Vorthan had once been a species of explorers and artists, but after achieving perfect military technology, they became focused only on conquest and strength. The ethereal had once been passionate and creative, but after developing perfect logic, they eliminated all emotions and became cold, calculating machines. Species after species had fallen into the great silence. Some took thousands of years to fade away. Others disappeared in just a few generations, but the result was always the same. The galaxy was full of advanced civilizations that were technically alive but spiritually dead. Dr. Hai Jin called an emergency meeting with world leaders and showed them what she had discovered. "We are not just dealing with aliens who want to study us," she explained. "We are dealing with dying civilizations that are desperately trying to save themselves." The room was silent as everyone absorbed this information. "Commander?" So Young asked the question that everyone was thinking. If all these species are so advanced and powerful, why do they think humans can help them? Dr. Hai Jin pointed to a section of alien text that had taken her weeks to translate. According to their records, humans are the only species they have ever encountered that avoided the Great Silence. Every other species that developed advanced technology eventually lost their humanity, but humans kept theirs. Lieutenant Dong Min, who had been monitoring alien communications, brought even more shocking news. The aliens' home planets are demanding that all their people return to space immediately. The test was supposed to last 1 year, but the commanders are getting worried about how much their people are changing. The alien ships orbiting Earth were receiving increasingly angry messages from across the galaxy. The leaders of various species were furious that their people were adopting human emotions and human values. They saw this as a dangerous infection that could spread to their home planets. But the aliens living on Earth were sending back messages that surprised everyone. Kyo Min, the alien doctor, had sent a transmission to his home planet that human intelligence agents intercepted. "I have learned what it means to truly heal people," he wrote. "It is not enough to fix their bodies. You must also care for their hearts and minds. I cannot return to a world where healing is just a mechanical process." Similar messages were coming from aliens all over the world. Chunji, the alien who worked in a bakery, wrote to her people, "I have discovered that creating something beautiful is not a waste of time or resources. It brings joy to others and meaning to my existence. I will not go back to a place where beauty is considered unnecessary." The most emotional message came from Sunmi the Ethereal, who had learned about love. "I have experienced something that our species abandoned millions of years ago." She wrote, "I have felt my heart beat faster when I see someone I care about. I have known the pain of separation and the joy of reunion. I am more alive now than I ever was before." Dr. Hai Jin realized that the test was not just about proving that aliens could understand humans. It was about proving that the human spark could be shared. The aliens were not just studying human behavior. They were becoming human in all the ways that truly mattered. Agent Min Su brought disturbing news from his surveillance of alien communications. The home planets are planning to send military ships to Earth to force their people to return. Some species are even discussing the possibility of eliminating Earth entirely to prevent the spread of human influence. The galaxy was facing a crisis that no one had expected. The test had worked too well. The aliens had not just learned to understand humans, they had become addicted to human emotions and human ways of thinking. They were refusing to return to their old empty existences. Captain Wu Jin, who had been watching the alien ship since the beginning, noticed new activity in space. More ships were arriving every day, but these were not peaceful research vessels. They were military ships with weapons designed to destroy entire planets. The aliens living on Earth were caught between two worlds. They loved their new human lives, but they also felt loyalty to their home planets and their own species. Many of them were struggling with the choice between staying on Earth and returning to space. Jae-sung the Vorthan, who had learned about mercy and forgiveness, received a direct order from his military commanders. "Return immediately, or be considered a traitor to your people. You have been infected with human weakness and must be cured." But Jae-sung had found something among humans that he had never experienced before. He had friends who cared about him not because he was strong or useful, but simply because he was himself. He had learned to find joy in simple things like sharing meals and watching sunsets. Sun Mai faced a similar choice. Her ethereal leaders sent her a message saying, "Emotion is a disease that will destroy our perfect society. You must return and undergo treatment to remove these dangerous feelings." But Sunmi had fallen in love with a human man named Taewon, and she had discovered that love made her more creative and more alive than pure logic ever could. She had started painting pictures that expressed feelings she could never put into words. The aliens were discovering what humans had always known, that life without emotion and passion and hope was not really life at all. It was just existence. The Great Silence had not made their species more advanced. It had made them less than they could be. Dr. Hai Jin made a final discovery that changed everything. She found records showing that Earth had been watched by aliens for thousands of years. They had been waiting to see if humans would fall into the Great Silence like every other species. But humans had done something unprecedented. They had developed advanced technology without losing their humanity. They had created weapons that could destroy their world, but they chose to use their intelligence to solve problems instead. They had the power to take whatever they wanted, but they chose to share and cooperate. The aliens had come to Earth hoping to learn the secret of avoiding the Great Silence, but they had discovered something even more amazing. The human spark was not just something that could be studied and copied. It was something that could be shared and spread. As the 10th month began, it became clear that the test had revealed a truth that would change the galaxy forever. Humans were not the most advanced species in the universe, but they were the most human. And in a galaxy full of powerful but empty civilizations that made them the most important species of all. The question now was whether the rest of the galaxy would accept this truth, or whether they would try to destroy Earth to prevent the spread of human influence. The aliens living among humans had already made their choice. They would rather die as beings capable of love and hope than live forever as empty shells. The greatest test was yet to come. 1 full year had passed since the first alien ship appeared near Earth. and now the sky was filled with hundreds of ships from every corner of the galaxy. Representatives from dozens of species had come to witness the final results of the test. That had changed everything. Commander G1 stood on the observation deck of the space station, looking up at the massive alien fleet that surrounded Earth. She had been chosen to represent humanity in what everyone knew would be the most important meeting in galactic history. The aliens who had lived on Earth for a year were about to face judgment from their own people. The Great Council ship was larger than any human building. It was a meeting place where the most powerful beings in the galaxy gathered to make decisions that affected entire star systems. Commander G1 felt nervous as she prepared to enter this ship, but she also felt proud of what humanity had accomplished. Inside the Council ship, thousands of alien representatives sat in a vast circular chamber that seemed to stretch forever. Each species looked different, but they all shared the same cold, calculating expressions that showed they had fallen victim to the Great Silence. They were technically alive, but they had no spark of true life in their eyes. At the center of the chamber stood the aliens who had lived on Earth for 1 year. They looked completely different from their fellow species members. Where the others appeared cold and emotionless, these aliens showed warmth and curiosity and hope in their faces. The trial began with Kyo-Min, the alien who had worked as a doctor in Seoul. He stood before thousands of his own people and spoke with tears flowing down his blue cheeks. "I came to Earth to study human medicine," he said. "But I learned something far more important than any medical technique." Kyo-Min told the council about his first day at the human hospital, where he had been shocked to see doctors crying when patients died. On his home planet, medical workers were trained to feel nothing when someone died because emotions were considered inefficient. But living among humans had taught him that healing was about more than just fixing broken bodies. It was about caring for the whole person, about giving hope to those who were suffering, about showing compassion, even when there was nothing more that could be done medically. I discovered that my healing powers became stronger when I truly cared about my patients. Kyo-Min explained. When I felt their pain, as my own pain, I found ways to help them that pure logic could never have shown me. Compassion made me a better healer than I ever was before. The council members listened with expressions of disgust and horror. They saw Kyo-Min's tears as evidence of mental illness and his emotional attachment to patients as a dangerous weakness. Next came Yoonji, the alien who had worked in a small bakery. She spoke about discovering the importance of beauty and creativity. On her home planet, everything was designed for maximum efficiency. Buildings were gray and identical. Food was nutritious but tasteless. Art was considered a waste of resources. But working in the human bakery had taught her that beauty was not wasteful. It was essential. She had learned to create bread that not only fed people's bodies but also brought joy to their hearts. She had discovered that a beautifully decorated cake could make someone smile on the worst day of their life. The simple act of creating something beautiful gives meaning to existence, Yoonji said with passion in her voice. When I see a child smile because of a cookie I made, I feel more alive than I ever did when I was just following efficient protocols. The council members shook their heads in disapproval. They saw Yoonji's focus on beauty as a sign that she had lost her rational thinking and become infected with human irrationality. Then Jae-sung, the Vorthan warrior, stood to speak. He was still 7 feet tall and incredibly strong, but his eyes now showed kindness instead of the cold calculation of a perfect soldier. I was taught that strength meant the ability to destroy enemies and take whatever I wanted, he began. But humans showed me a different kind of strength. They showed me the power to choose mercy over violence, to help instead of hurt, to build instead of destroy. Jae-sung told the council about the bank robbery where he could have defeated the criminals in seconds, but instead watched human police officers risk their lives to solve the problem peacefully. He had learned that true strength sometimes meant not using your power. The greatest victory is not defeating your enemy, Jae-sung declared. It is turning your enemy into a friend. It is finding solutions where everyone can win. It is being strong enough to be gentle. The Vorthan representatives in the council looked at him with disgust. They saw his mercy and compassion as signs of weakness that would make their entire species vulnerable to attack. Finally, Sunmi the Ethereal stepped forward to speak. She had been the most logical and emotionless member of her species, but now her large eyes sparkled with feelings that her people had forgotten existed. I came to Earth believing that emotions were a weakness that prevented clear thinking, she said. But I discovered that emotions are not the enemy of logic. They are its partner. Love made me more creative than I had ever been. Fear taught me to be careful and protective. Hope gave me the strength to keep trying when logic said I should give up. Sunmi spoke about falling in love with Taiwan and how that love had awakened parts of her mind that pure logic could never access. She had started creating art and music that expressed feelings, too complex for words. She had learned to see beauty in imperfection and find joy in uncertainty. Emotions did not make me weaker. Sunmi concluded, they made me more complete. They helped me understand truths that logic alone could never reveal. The council deliberated for hours in the strange alien languages Commander G1 could not understand. But she could see from their expressions that most of the council members were angry and disgusted by what they had heard. They saw the changes in their people as a dangerous disease that needed to be cured. Finally, the council announced their decision. The aliens who had lived on Earth would be forced to return to their home planets immediately. They would undergo treatments to remove their human emotions and restore them to their previous state. Anyone who refused would be considered a traitor and eliminated. But then something unexpected happened. Every single alien who had lived on Earth stood up together and spoke as one voice. We refuse to return. We choose to stay on Earth. We would rather die as beings capable of love and hope than live forever as empty shells. The council chamber erupted in chaos. Representatives from dozens of species began arguing and shouting. Some demanded that the rebellious aliens be dragged back to their ships by force. Others suggested that Earth should be destroyed to prevent the spread of human influence. But then President Kyung-soo of Earth stood up and addressed the entire Galactic Council in a calm, clear voice. We welcome any being who wishes to embrace the values of compassion, creativity, and hope. We do not ask them to abandon their own cultures, only to open their hearts to new possibilities. We invite you to establish colonies on Earth. President Kyung-soo continued. Not to rule over us, but to live alongside us as equals. All we ask is that you contribute to our society and respect the rights of all living beings. Many council members rejected this offer immediately. They saw human emotions as a dangerous infection that could destroy their perfect ordered societies, but others began to whisper among themselves. Some species had been watching the transformation of their people with secret admiration. Over the following days, something remarkable happened. Representatives from several species approached Earth with a surprising request. They wanted to send small groups of their people to live on Earth and experience the human way of life for themselves. The galaxy was divided between those who saw humanity as a threat and those who saw them as salvation. But word was spreading throughout the stars about a small blue planet where beings could learn to truly live instead of just exist. Within months, Earth had become the most important planet in the galaxy. Alien colonies were established around the world, but instead of conquering or controlling, they focused on learning and contributing. Alien technology solved human problems like disease and poverty, while humans shared their greatest gift, the ability to find joy, hope, and meaning in existence. Captain Wu Jin, who had watched the first alien ship arrive now, oversaw a space station that welcomed visitors from across the galaxy. The secret test had revealed that humans were not the strongest or smartest species in the universe, but they were the most human. The great silence that had consumed countless civilizations was finally being broken. The galaxy was learning to live again, thanks to the small blue planet that had never forgotten how to hope. And it all began with a simple test that had asked the most important question of all. Not whether aliens could understand human technology or human bodies, but whether they could understand human hearts. The answer had changed everything.